7.3 vertex form. Okay, so this is another way to write quadratics, another form to use. Quadratic formula, we have two different forms. The first form was the one we already learned. It was standard form. Y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. So the ABC thing. Vertex form is going to be our new one that we learn. It is y equals a times x minus h squared plus k. Make sure you write it just like that with the squared on the outside of those parentheses. That is what we call vertex form.
So we're adding an extra letter?
Two new letters, right? H and K. We've not seen those before. But we're going to learn what those mean. So the first one is H, okay? If you notice, the formula says x minus h, right? Okay, so h is one of those variables that is a little deceiving, okay? So if h looks like it's negative, okay, if it looks negative, it's actually going to mean to go right instead of left, okay? But if it looks positive, it's going to mean to go left. So that's the only tricky thing you got to learn about, or you have to know about this formula. Okay? Then we have the k value. K is normal, okay? So if we've got a positive k, it's going to mean to go up, and if we've got a negative k, it's going to mean to go down. I also want you to circle the A in the front. Circle that A. So what A is still going to be A, okay? So if we think back to our last section, A told us the slope of the first point. It's still going to do that. So slope of the first point. It's also going to tell us if it opens up or down, right? So if A is positive, that means we're going up. And if it's negative, we are going down. Okay, and then last but not least, your vertex. Your vertex point is literally just negative hk. So that's why we call this vertex form, okay? Because it literally gives us our vertex. So remember how the last time we had to find the line of symmetry, plug it back in. It was kind of a process to find that vertex. This one, it just gives it right to us.
Could it also be a positive?
Yeah, yep. That just, basically what that form means, Bree, is just to flip the sign. So whichever one it looks like it's going to be, it's the opposite, okay? So if H looks like it's going to be positive, it's actually going to be negative, and vice versa. I'll show you what I mean. So on this first one, we've got A. We'll start with A. I should have done a blank for A. A on this one is going to be this number out front, which is negative 1/2. Okay? Then we have H. H is the number inside the parentheses. H looks like it's a negative 2, right? So what's it actually going to be? A positive 2. Okay? Then K is the number floating on the end. 3. Don't change its sign. So my vertex is literally just 2, 3. And then my line of symmetry, so if we remember, it just goes through that vertex, right? Yep, x is 2, because the x value of the vertex is 2. Okay? Now we just graph what we know. So I know where the vertex is. 2, 3. I know where my line of symmetry is. It goes through the 2. Okay? I know that the slope of my first point is the A value, which is negative 1/2. So if I start at that vertex, I go down 1, right 2, right? That's what a negative 1/2 slope is. So down 1, right 2. And then I can also reflect that point over, because this is symmetrical. Okay? And then last but not least, we have to have 5 points to know what this U is going to look like. Okay? We can't do it with 3, we have to have 5. So I just need 1 more point to find, and then I can reflect it over to get my 5th one. Okay? So basically what you want to do is just pick an x value that is either to the left or to the right of one of those numbers. So we could pick -1 or we could pick 5. Which one do you want to pick? 5? Okay. So I'm going to go up here to the original problem, and I'm going to plug in 5 for x to figure out what y equals. And my calculator will do that for me. So grab a calculator right now if you don't have one. You're going to need one today. You type this in. Here's what you type. -1, ABC 2, so that gives me my fraction bar, parenthesis, 5 minus 2, close parenthesis, squared, plus 3. Tell me what you got. -1.5. Cool. That's what you should have. You should have got -3/2 or -1.5. Same thing. So this point would be 5, -1.5. So I'll go to that point. I will put a dot, reflect that over. And there's my U shape. Where? So my 2 points that I had, or 3 points I had, I just picked one that was to the left or to the right of one of them, okay? Because I just have to have a total of 5 points. So I could have plugged in this -1 here, because that was to the left. I could have plugged in 5. I could even plug in a bigger number if I want to, okay? Really doesn't matter, just as long as it's not a point that you already have. Okay? Good question. Any other questions? Cool. We're going to also do this one together, and then I'm going to let you work on the others. So, example 2, graph the following quadratic. So when you see a quadratic and it is in vertex form, here's what I want you to get in the habit of writing. So with the other form, we always wrote out ABC. Now we're going to write out A, H, K. A, H, and K. So first we look, what is A going to be? 2. Okay, it's that front number. What is H going to be? -3. Because again, H is the one that's deceiving. We always got to change its sign. So that's -3. And then last but not least, K, 1. So now, my vertex is what? We just found it. -3, 1. The axis of symmetry. What'd you say? Yep, x is -3. I think we might have wrote this down already, but we might not have. X is always going to equal whatever h is. Okay, so x equals h is always going to be that line of symmetry. So make sure we know that. Or axis of symmetry, okay? Is this going to open up or down? Why up? Got it? What's the domain going to be? If it's a quadratic. It's always, always, always -infinity, +infinity. Okay. Next 2 things, I need to graph it before I find those. So we'll graph the vertex, -3, -3, +1. My line of symmetry is going to go through that point. My slope is my a value, which is 2 or 2/1, right? Same thing. So 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, and reflect it. And then I need one more point. So, yep, I could plug in -1. That would be perfect. Another thing too, I can kind of kill two birds with one stone. Do you notice how it asked me for the y-intercept? What is a y-intercept? When something equals 0. When x is 0, okay? So really, I could go ahead and plug in 0 and get that point, and then reflect that, and then I'm done. Okay, it's one less point I have to find. But if you plugged in -1, you wouldn't be wrong. Okay, so let's just try 0. So we'll go y equals 2 times 0 plus 3 squared plus 1. Tell me what that is. $19. So this is just 0, 19. If I plot that, is that going to be on this graph or above it? It's going to be kind of far up here, but that's okay.
Where'd you get 19?
We plugged in 0 for x.
Can you plug in any number for it?
You can plug in any number. Yep, as long as it's not one that you've already used. So now I'm just going to reflect that, which doesn't have to be perfect, but it would be right about there. And now my u looks like this. So I had 5 points. That's what I needed. And it's okay if you go off the graph sometimes, okay? Cool. Last but not least is the range. So from the bottom to the top on the y-axis, what y value does this start at? 1. And where's it go? Infinity. Good. Questions on that? Do we feel like this might be a little easier than the last way?
Nope.
Yes, no, maybe so? Okay, I'm gonna give you about 2-3 minutes. I want you to work this problem out. Feel free to work with somebody around you if you want. We'll go ahead and get started. So first things first when solving these, again, always start with A, H, and K. What is the A value? -4. It is always the number in the front. What is the H value? -1. Again, that one switches. That's the one inside the parentheses. And then K. -4. Good. So write out your vertex. What is it?
-1, -4.
Yep, we just found it. Good. Axis of symmetry.
-1.
Yep, x is -1. You can go ahead and graph those. Cool. Opening up or down? Ooh, mixed reviews. Raise your hand for up. Raise your hand for down. Good, it is down.
How does that work?
A is negative. So we just got to look at the A value. It's
Oh,
the same
so
thing
the
as
A is
standard
negative.
form. If the A is negative, it goes down. Yep. Domain is always going to be what? And we know that the A is also our slope of the first point, right? What is the slope? What is A? -4 over 1. Okay. So down 4 and then right 1. Can I reflect it? Yeah. Cool. And then pick a random number. What number did you pick? 1. I like that because it's close. Okay. So when we plug in 1, -4, 1 plus 1 squared, -4, what do you get? 1, -20. Okay. And if I plot that, where's that going to be? It's going to be way below the graph. We'll just put it down here. Pretend that's -20. It's going to look something like that. Okay, the range. What do we think? So bottom to top. So the first thing is, where is this going down?
-4.
It's going to negative infinity. Now to the top. Where's it end? On the y value. Negative 4. Yep, it's y value. And then the y-intercept, where do I cross the y-axis? Negative 8. Yep, we can see we plotted that point already, right? 0, negative 8. Let's go. It's easy. Good. Okay. Next one, same thing. Give you a couple minutes. First things first, I need to find what?
A and K.
Ooh, Nick. You got it. What's A? Negative 2. H? Positive 2. Okay. 1. Axis of symmetry. X is 2. It's always H. Vertex? 2, 1. Opening up or down? Down. The A is negative. Domain?
Negative infinity, positive infinity.
Perfect. Now we need to start graphing it, right? Before we find that range. So if we look, our vertex is at 2, 1. Over 2, up 1. Line of symmetry is through the 2. What's next? Not yet. I have 2 points that they're giving me. Negative 2 over 1, right? The A value is the slope of my first point. They told me it's negative 2. I know that's the same thing as negative 2 over 1, which means to go
Down 2, right 1.
You got it, Nick.
Oh, yeah.
Nick is an all-star today. I'm expecting an A on your next test.
I'm gonna fail my next test.
Don't say that. Okay. Then we gotta pick one more point, right? What'd you pick?
2. I picked 4.
Okay. Picked 4. Picked 2. Did anybody pick 0?
No.
No?
0.
I would have picked 0 because you have to find the y-intercept. And we haven't found it yet. So that's what I would have picked. But you can pick anything. I'm doing 0. Y equals negative 2. 0 minus 2 squared plus 1. Somebody help me out and type that in your calculator. Yep, it's negative 7. So my y-intercept is 0, negative 7. If you plugged in 4, you also got negative 7 for the answer. Why?
Because it's always going to cancel y. So it's at the same time reflected.
Yeah, I can just reflect it. Okay? So if you picked 4, you also got that same point. Cool. And then last but not least, the range. Bottom to top, y-axis.
Negative infinity.
Oh, 1.
You got it. Negative infinity to 1. Good. Questions on this? Feeling confident?
Yep.
Yeah? Somewhat better than last time? Okay. Last new thing we're going to learn today is just converting back and forth between these two forms. This is nothing new. This is something that we've already been doing. Okay? So if I gave you a problem like this and I told you to put it in standard form, I'm just meaning FOIL it out. Okay? So we're just going to FOIL this out. This is the same thing as y equals x plus 3 times x plus 3 minus 1, because it's x plus 3 squared. And we have definitely solved problems that look like this, okay? So we look. First things first. First term to first term, x times x.
X squared.
X squared. First term, last term, x times 3. Nope. 3x. 3 times x. And 3 times 3. Plus 9. And then we have a minus 1. Now all we do is combine like terms. So y equals... Does x squared have any like terms? No? Three x's go together and become 6x, and last but not least, plus 8. That's it. That's easy. I like to hear it. Good. Second to last thing, vice versa, okay? So this is a lot like what we did the first day. If you get standard form and you're going to vertex form, you just gotta find the vertex, okay? So we gotta find A, B, and C. What are they?
2, 10, and 7.
2, 10, and 7. We're actually gonna make this 1, 10, and 7. And I'm gonna change this problem to a 1 just because it becomes prettier. It's not a decimal if I do this. No, you cannot. Good try though. Okay. When we have A, B, and C and we have to find the vertex, we first have to find the line of symmetry.
Yep.
Negative B over 2A. Yep, negative B over 2A. So if I plug in these values, that gives me negative 10 over 2 times 1. What is negative 10 over 2 times 1? Good, negative 5. That's my x value. How do I find the y value? Plug it in to this for x. So y is going to equal negative 5 squared plus 10 times negative 5 plus 7. Type that in. Chill. Negative 18. So this is negative 5, negative 18, right? Okay, so you're telling me I just found the vertex? Is that what you're telling me? Are we listening? Guys in the back? Guys in the back, you're about to miss something important. So you're telling me I just found the vertex? So you're telling me I found H comma K? And I already know what A is? So my vertex form, if it's just y equals A, x minus h squared plus k, I don't expect you to memorize that. I'll give you that for the test. And you're just plugging in A, h, and k. What would that look like? Y equals, what's A? 1. X, what's h? Negative 5, but what would I write? Plus 5, because it's opposite. Squared, and then k. Minus 18. That's it. So that one requires a little more steps, okay? But on the test, I'll give you this formula, and I'll give you this formula. You just have to be able to convert. Last but not least, this one's easy. This one's easy, this one's easy. Write this in the vertex equation. So all you gotta know, you need A, you need H, and you need K. What is A?
Line of symmetry. 1.
Close. Negative 1, right? Down 1 over 1, slope of the first point. What's H?
Plus 2.
It gives me the vertex. Yep, H would be positive 2. Well, it's actually negative 2, but when we plug it in, you're right, it's going to be positive 2. And then K is 4. So we plug this in. Y equals negative 1 x plus 2 squared plus 4. I hate Wednesdays. They make me rush. Okay. How we feel about that? Okay, we're going to do some practice. Your homework and the Delta Math. There are 5 questions on Delta Math.